Out all night, Saturdays this fall on NBC.
Introducing Glade Plug-in's Nightlight, a bright new way to plug into freshness.
Plug it in, plug it in.
The freshness of a plug-in, the convenience of a nightlight.
Plug it in, plug it in.
It gently warms its refill cartridge for 30 days of freshness.
Freshness day and night. Freshness with the light. Plug it in, plug it in.
Original, shell, and new Nightlight.
Plug it in, plug it in.
From SC Johnson Wax.
It happened overnight. Strange changes. But there it was. Cats had taken over the Iowa lottery. It finally ended in the scratch game department, where the names of games began changing mysteriously. Now there's the newest scratch game, Fat Cat. And it's not your typical game either. It got special treatment. 4 games on each ticket, so you could win up to 4 times on a ticket. That and a top prize of $1,000. Play Fat Cat today, the very first cat scratch game from the Iowa lottery.
Now, for people who think nothing but chocolate will do, presenting Chocolate Lovers Blizzard Treats from Dairy Queen. Rich, rocky road with boulders of fudge, almonds, and marshmallows. Gooey mud pie, oozing with chocolate Oreo cookies and coffee. Chocolate chip cookie dough, crammed with chunks of chocolate and dough. Try all 3 at Dairy Queen, now.
Sure beats the chocolate mousse. Yummy!
From WHO TV13 Des Moines, this is a 24-hour news update.
Good evening, I'm Kim Kerrigan with this live update. 71 degrees in Des Moines at 9 o'clock. The body of a white female was found this morning in southwest Missouri. Illinois State Police are now involved in the investigation. Officials say the body, which has similar characteristics to Tammy Zawicki, was found along Interstate 44. There is no confirmation of the identity. You'll remember Zawicki is the Grinnell College student missing for more than a week. We'll have more details tonight at 10.
Hello, I'm Jane Pauley.
And I'm Stone Phillips. Here's what's ahead on Dateline NBC.
Tonight on Dateline.
Hurricane Andrew and the disaster relief that wasn't.
It's just mass chaos. It's devastating.
How this part of Florida found itself thrown back in time.
We can't bathe. We can't flush our toilets.
Tonight, John Scott takes us into battered neighborhoods where just existing comes down to basic instincts.
This is what we call survival. We have to protect what we have.
Okay, here's my buddy.
What's life like when relief is too little, too late?
Then, a child's last days with her mother.
But you know what? I love you very much.
The mother is dying of AIDS.
Tell me, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't think she's going to go to heaven. I know she's going to go to heaven.
Tonight, something incredible. How this dying mother found a new family for her 2 little girls.
I like to be loved. I love to go to Disneyland. My sister likes the things I like.
Jane with pure inspiration. While battling AIDS, a parent fulfills one last wish.
And walrus herds slaughtered, gunned down for their ivory tusks. The tusks then traded for drugs.
I'm ashamed of that, wherever that is.
Outraged, he tipped off authorities, but heartbroken when his own son was caught up in it all. Stone reports from Alaska. War over the walrus.
Dateline NBC with correspondents Brian Ross, Michelle Gillen, Deborah Roberts, and John Scott. From our studios in New York, here are Stone Phillips and Jane Pauley.
Good evening on a September night when an August hurricane is still the top news story. No one here can remember when a natural disaster prompted a primetime address from the Oval Office. But neither in memory has there been a hurricane like Andrew. So earlier this evening, President Bush appealed to Americans to help the relief effort.
Although the relief effort is well underway, urgent needs still exist. And so tonight I make a special appeal to the generous spirit of the American people. People in Florida and Louisiana want to stay in their homes. They're in desperate need of rolls of plastic to cover open roofs, lumber to board up walls, and cots to sleep on. They also need diapers and baby formula and other infant supplies. And fresh volunteers are needed to staff medical facilities or help with the cleanup.
Earlier today, Mr. Bush had been in Louisiana, where he surveyed storm damage to the sugarcane crop. Before that, he visited Florida, his second visit in 8 days. There, he pledged to rebuild Homestead Air Force Base, which generates some $200 million for the local economy. And he assured residents that the federal government would pay 100% of all eligible disaster relief, easing the burden on Florida taxpayers. As of tonight, 20,000 federal troops are on the ground in South Florida, and at least 12 tent cities are nearly operational. Stone.
So each day now brings improvement in the relief effort. Still, there is massive homelessness, major health concerns, looting continues, and many people are still guarding their homes. What's it like to live like that? Well, Dateline's John Scott is a Miami resident, and for the past week, he's been in the hardest hit neighborhoods, pockets where organized relief has yet to take shape. Here is what life is like.
This isn't a bombed-out neighborhood in Bosnia. This isn't a settlement camp in Iraq.
Who wants more water?
These are not scenes from some far-flung civil war.
Just get easy, okay? There you go.
This is America, southern Dade County, Florida. Here, in the wake of the nation's most costly natural disaster, people are wondering why it took so long for governmental relief to arrive. And while bureaucrats point fingers, ordinary citizens are left to try to cope with living conditions that, in many places, are getting worse, not better.
They're fighting over food.
And where's the Army? Where's the government at?
Get me a police officer to run a 3 if we need to, lights and sirens up there, but I gotta be there.
Kate Hale, who's in charge of disaster preparedness for Dade County, acknowledges that even now, 9 days after the hurricane, the relief effort in places is rudimentary at best.
We are still trying to get food and water into people. It's that basic still.
Basic survival needs.
Basic survival needs. Obviously, this thing has outstripped the ability of state and local government to respond to it. That's why we needed the federal resources in here so badly.
Did they come soon enough?
No, but they're here now.
We are Bravo!
They are here now, and it's a massive effort. But is it enough? 20,000 troops, tents for 17,000 homeless, Army field kitchens, Navy ships carrying 2,000 tons of relief and construction supplies. But despite all that federal assistance, tens of thousands of people here are saying they're not getting the help they need. Aid is pouring into the county, but in many of the neighborhoods we visited, it hasn't arrived. And people are still struggling day by day just to stay alive.
Anybody want any shirts and stuff?
Everybody's just taking care of one another, and we realize, nobody else is going to do it right now. Hopefully relief will eventually come in for the long term, but at this point, every man for himself.
When we first met Jim Guyton on Saturday, the storm was 5 days gone, and the government's relief effort was well underway. But he and his neighbors in the community of South Miami Heights were wondering why they hadn't seen any of it. The first load of emergency supplies they saw came from friends and relatives out of town.
You sure? Yeah. It's hard to get information, We're hearing that there are a lot of supply points and things, but we can't get to them. They need to get to us. You try to go there, but, you leave your house, it's going to get looted. Somebody has to stay here.
Looting of stores was rampant in the first days after the storm.
You're registered for felony. You're not allowed to carry a weapon anymore.
Then police and National Guard units cracked down hard.
Get the gun away.
But with commercial districts secured, residential areas remain vulnerable. Jim Guyton and his neighbors are scared.
They're walking down the streets at night with guns. They were just coming up to people sitting on their porch and demanding money and jewelry. And, what can you do? I've been keeping this .38 caliber.
So Guyton, a postal worker who normally carries the mail, is now carrying a gun.
And
it's really that bad?
It is that bad.
The Wild West?
Dodge City, it's right here.
Dodge City in some places, a war zone in others.
You all need help? Yeah, we're okay. Nobody needs any medical help here?
No, I went up to the mass unit yesterday.
Oh, you did?
A week after the storm, doctors and National Guard medics are still going house to house, searching out the wounded and weak, or those overcome by the heat.
Plenty of water.
Okay.
In restoring people's basic needs, delay could mean disease. Despite warnings, some in South Dade are still relying on contaminated water supplies for drinking and bathing. Mountains of debris and garbage pile up under the fierce Florida sun. There is very real fear now that this part of the world's richest nation will fall victim to third world diseases: cholera, typhoid, hepatitis.
It took a long time for the federal government to stick their nose into this.
Helen McGinn of Homestead voices a common complaint.
Took a long time to get here, huh?
Right. Actually, I think they should have known. Everybody knew it. So why didn't they do something and right after the hurricane, not wait till Thursday? They brought in the National Guards and that was it.
What kind of help have you seen in terms of local government or state government?
The federal troops and supplies began arriving Friday, and people here are grateful. But there's an unmistakable feeling the soldiers are only playing catch-up to a catastrophe that has a huge head start.
I'm relieved.
When we checked back with Jim Guyton, he too was grateful, having just seen the first signs of governmental help.
8 or 10 Army reservists walking right down the street. An Army Jeep coming right down in front of the house now. Police cars in the area. They assured us they'll be in the neighborhood tonight, not just along the major arteries, but they're in and out the neighborhoods and on the streets where we need them.
But those troops would not be in the neighborhood that night, and Guyton's high spirits would not last the day.
Though our homes may be gone, Lord.
All across South Dade County, there is a reservoir of despair. You can see it in the faces of these people whose trailer park was destroyed. You can hear it in the voice of Joe Maceda.
Seems like there's another world out there aside from ours. You couldn't imagine anything like this in your entire life. This is your biggest nightmare, and it comes true. And you're stuck in the middle in the aftermath. I dared to dream earlier this year. I bought the home. My life savings went into it, and just the opposite happens a few months later. It hurts. It hurts.
For Maceda and many of the 180,000 others left homeless, not much has changed since the hurricane, even though the soldiers are marching and the helicopters are flying and the supplies are flowing in to distant depots. Whole communities lie in ruins. Good water is scarce, electricity almost non-existent. And on top of these many other troubles, it's been raining almost daily. And through damaged roofs, the water comes in, making a soggy mess of whatever the hurricane didn't blow away. People are scrambling to protect what's theirs, whether from rain or from looters. It's the survival instinct.
All looters will be shot on sighting.
An 8-year-old child stands guard over what possessions the family has left.
Yeah.
Yes, the weapon she carries is real. A shotgun.
This is real bullets.
How are you guys doing, okay?
Remember Kate Hale, whose job it is to prepare Dade County for this kind of emergency. She's as frightened as everyone else.
What do you say to people who, a week, 10 days after the storm, don't have security in their neighborhood?
That we're trying to get the security expanded into those areas, and I can tell you right now that I have friends who are staying at my house, friends whose home was destroyed, and they're armed because I'm in the same situation. There is no security in my neighborhood either.
No, you guys all right tonight?
And none in Jim Guyton's neighborhood.
Everybody still alert?
The National Guard, after driving through once, never reappeared. He went back on patrol.
Hey, Jerry. We're just kind of watching the neighborhood tonight.
Yeah.
Seeing any problems? Good.
I got my Ruger too.
Okay, well hang in there and let's look out for one another, huh?
Yeah, I got my Ruger right here.
Oh yeah? Okay. Well, that's the only way we gotta be, so just be careful through here because everybody's armed and...
I know. You gotta be that way nowadays. Okay, we'll catch you later.
All right, Jerry, take it easy.
And Jim Guyton is not alone.
We have families and people need food and everything, and
Neighbors like Larry Plumidor are patrolling as well. Does it seem a little extreme to be marching around in the rain carrying a rifle?
Protecting my property is what you call it.
Are you scared?
I'm more afraid for my family. It is a scary situation. It's about time that something's done about it, you know. And now we know that the National Guard, the Army, and the cops know we're here. They've driven by once, but okay, that's a start. Let's continue. Don't run out on us now. It's going to take weeks for us to rebuild. We can't start until we've got, you know, our hands off the guns. We got to put a hammer in our hands and start fixing some roofs around here.
But tonight, in South Miami Heights and other neighborhoods throughout South Dade, survival is still the driving concern.
Has you got me here yet?
And a return to the life they lost 9 days ago is months, if not years, away.
John Scott tells us that in the neighborhood we just saw, residents are still patrolling their own streets. He says that while military personnel have been through the area, none is there after the sun goes down. Later in the hour, we'll go to John Scott in South Florida for a report on where things stand tonight.
Coming up, a story that pulls the heart in two directions, a profile of love, determination, and sacrifice. How a dying mother found new parents for her two little girls. A story of our times. The mother has AIDS.
If you're tired of hunting for your vacuum cleaner's attachments, get the new Dirt Devil Upright. It's lightweight, easy to use, and all the attachments are built right into the vacuum, so you can clean everything from floor to ceiling and edge to edge without stopping to find a thing. And because it's a Dirt Devil, it's packed with plenty of cleaning power. So stop hunting for your attachments. Get the new Dirt Devil Upright, the all-in-one cleaner that cleans it all.
Whoa, yeah. Want you to rock me. Rock me all night long. Sun gone down. Moon begin to rise. I want you to rock me till you make me satisfied.
For years, Pledge has kept our furniture beautiful. Well, now Pledge does even more. With a special dust-resistant formula called Dust Block, now Pledge actually repels dust. 2 weeks ago, I polished the word Pledge into this table. Watch. Pledge repels over half the dust I'd get just dry dusting. Pledge knows our lives are a lot busier these days. But with Pledge with Dust Block, they're a little easier, too.
Pledge with Dust Block. It actually repels dust. From SC Johnson Wax.
Things do go bump in the night. There are boogeymen. Fortunately, Sealy's exclusive Posturepedic sleep system is designed to support everyone differently. More comfortably. To keep your night from becoming your worst nightmare. For a better night's sleep, better sleep on a Sealy.
You told us it helps, so we're keeping at it. We're rolling up our sleeves and rolling back prices on hundreds more items at Walmart.
Roll back America.
Surf Liquid was $3.56, now $3. The AT&T answering machine was $44.96, now $39.96.
Roll back America.
We're really rolling now at Walmart.
Roll back America.
Always the low price, always.
Oprah Winfrey hosts the most important television program you'll see all year.
Please help me to help stop child abuse.
Scared Silent, NBC Friday.
While America has been focusing on the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew, other challenges remain. And our next story brings home a new dimension to the AIDS crisis. As AIDS continues into a second decade, the number of AIDS orphans is on the rise. Worldwide, they can be counted in the millions. In America, already in the tens of thousands. So what do you do if you're a parent dying of AIDS and there is no one to take care of your children after you're gone? How do you provide for them? Who will be there to help them towards a full, happy, successful life? It would be too much to say that our story tonight has a happy ending, but as you'll see, there is reason for hope.
Okay, start at the top and work your way down.
Like right here?
Mm-hmm.
Bird bath, picnic table, jogger slide.
Great. Okay.
Tanya Shaw is a single mother in Los Angeles, and that's not easy. But she enjoys sweet moments snuggling close to her daughters for story time.
Dinosaur, letter, carrier,
astronaut.
She's still beautiful, even though at 25, she's dying of AIDS. She has a mission and not much time to find a family to adopt her little girls.
Stop it.
8-year-old Destiny may not fully comprehend it, but she knows.
Tell me, what do you think is going to happen? I guess I'm going to be adopted when my mom goes away, and I think she's going to go to heaven. I don't think she's going to go to heaven. I know she's going to go to heaven.
Take a deep breath in and then let it out.
Tanya Shaw began her search for her children's new parents last spring, when her health was still pretty good. This summer, her condition had deteriorated.
Look straight ahead.
She's suffering the effects of dementia. The virus has infected her brain. But if anything, it's made her more determined than ever.
It looks all right?
It looks fine.
Even if I be really more sicker, I'll be sure to put my X on them papers on my bed to make it legalized and make it happen.
Do you have a sense that there's a big clock ticking and you got to find this family real fast?
Yeah, now I do. This is a killer. This AIDS is a killer.
Everything about AIDS, from the diagnosis to the prognosis, is a catastrophe. There's not yet a network of support groups where mothers with AIDS can turn for legal help, advice, counseling. Placing the kids is often an afterthought. In fact, the question, who'll take the kids, often comes up after the funeral. 90% of the time, children who've lost parents to AIDS will go to someone in the family. But what if no one in the family is suitable or willing? That's Tanya's problem. She trusts no one in her family to care for her daughters.
I have a 2-package deal, and I'm not splitting them up. They're going to stay together. They're all they're going to have.
Why can't you trust the county to do right by your kids?
The county screws kids. They have all these kids in the system, and most of the kids that are in there, they dysfunctional. They end up on drugs because the system hasn't done nothing for them but ruined them.
So Tanya is leaving nothing to chance, and she's taking matters into her own hands. She told the Los Angeles Times of her plight and her plan, and the publicity generated a number of inquiries about adopting Destiny and Chastity.
In your mind's eye, describe the family you're looking for.
Oh, gosh. Just down-to-earth, real good people who's willing to love these kids and raise them as their own.
What kind of a family would you like to find?
Well, my mom has honest people. I like them very much, but they already had a daughter and they said they didn't want.
What a hard thing it is for an 8-year-old to understand. Her own mother is trying to find another mother. Sometimes any mother's arms will do.
She's scared. She's scared as hell.
What have you told her?
I'm going to heaven, and I always watch over her and her sister, and I'm going to find them the greatest family before I go to raise them and take care of them.
What if you can't keep that promise?
God wouldn't let me down.
God has his hands full. There are already an estimated 20,000 so-called AIDS orphans here in New York City alone, and the cases are mounting at an alarming rate. Part of the story is the stigma that keeps families afflicted with AIDS from reaching out for help. Elena Mendez felt humiliated by AIDS and could never have gone to the newspaper for help like Tanya did. Fortunately, she didn't have to.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
You think parents live for eternity. They're not going to die. No. After my father died, I didn't shed a tear. I was too young to understand.
But you did cry after your mother died.
Oh, did I cry? I cried for my father and my mother.
Michelle Mendez was orphaned by AIDS by the age of 13. First, her father, a postal worker, died when she was 6. He was an IV drug user and infected his wife, Elena. Michelle was 12 when her mother told her.
She said, I have AIDS. And I remembered, oh my God, this is what my father died of. That was like a flashback, my father. And I ran to my room, put pillows over my head, and cried. Because I knew she wasn't going to live.
But when Elena died a year later, she did not leave Michelle alone. As Tanya Shaw is trying to do now, Elena made careful plans, leaving a little money in the bank, making her will, and most importantly, choosing Michelle's new parents. Unlike Tanya Shaw, Elena Mendez found them among family. Julio Colon is Michelle's first cousin on her father's side. He'd not seen Elena for nearly 5 years, but one day they happened to meet on the street.
I kind of felt right away that something was wrong. Her cheekbones were a little bit receding, and she looked slimmer. And I said to myself, I think I know what's going on. I believe I know what's going on. So immediately, when she said, I would like to see you, and I want to talk to you about Michelle, I said, okay.
You just knew what it was Elena was going to ask. Did you also know what you would do?
Oh, yes.
In the same instant?
In the same instant.
Next thing you know, she signs him up. And at first I was very angry. Like, that's not right. I didn't want to be with him. I don't know him that well.
Michelle wanted to stay here, on New York City's Lower East Side, where she'd lived her whole life. Not only were her friends here, but also Maria, the neighbor who cared for her like a daughter while Elena was dying. Michelle still calls Maria her second mother.
And Maria was there for me. So of course I'll be more bonded to her, and I love her so much.
But Elena wanted her daughter to grow up in a family with 2 parents. So the day Elena died, Julio, the cousin Michelle barely knew, arrived to take her away. Michelle had no say in the matter. He took her out of her old neighborhood to a new life in a green and leafy suburb. It might as well have been another planet.
I was a city kid, and that's how I always wanted to be. I didn't want the Beaver Cleaver family.
It was a rude awakening for Julio and his wife, Marta. The child they envisioned might have been more like Tanya's daughter, Destiny, an 8-year-old who wants and needs a mommy and daddy to look after her. Instead, they got an angry, grief-stricken teenager who wanted to be left alone.
When I first moved here, I was very violent.
Violent?
Violent. I was tell Julio, I want to hit you, I want to punch you out, man. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Who are you?
She was like, forget about it. She didn't want anything to do with us.
I mean, she was always fighting it. So there was always that hostility and that anger there.
You might have hoped that she would be grateful. And grateful she was not.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
that was like the first thing that really upset me. It was like, she's so unappreciative. I can't believe this.
I can't believe you, all right?
It's been a rough couple of years for all 3 of them. But these days, Michelle's tough city kid attitude is clearly softening. Her anger and defiance are finally giving way to a recognition that her mother, Elena, made the right choice. She calls Julio and Marta her parents, yet there's something they've never heard her say, until now.
I love them. Okay, I said it. Okay, happy? I said it. I love them. But, you know, I never told them in their face, but...
Never?
Never.
They'll see it on TV?
Yeah, so will 20 million people, so I said it. they're probably going to be blushing when they see this now, because I actually said it for the first time for 2 years.
You can almost see the happy ending she's heading for, sweating report cards and, with Marta and Julio's guidance, planning for college, because that was her mother and father's dream.
I made a vow that when I go to college and I graduate, that I'm going to leave 2 extra seats empty, and that'll be my parents' seats. So they'll be there. So that I know that they were watching me, that this was for somebody, you know? This is for you, you know? So, 2.5.
Not all kids land on their feet like Michelle has. The experts say teenagers often have a more difficult adjustment than younger ones do. It's been a long, hard journey for Michelle, but it's nearly completed. Destiny's is just beginning.
I like cats, I like dogs, I like fish.
Destiny wrote this as a way of introducing herself to her future parents.
I like to be loved. I love to go to Disneyland. I am very good to myself. My sister likes the things I like. We love our mom. I like cats.
Destiny and Chastity have some hard times ahead of them. But if there's going to be a happy ending in their future, it's because Tanya Shaw made it happen. She's found a family. The adoption papers have already been signed. You have such a quality of determination, a fierce determination about you. Where's that come from?
Them 2 little girls. Them 2 little girls that make me do anything. You know? That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I can't do it. Chastity helps.
Jane, what about this family that's taking Tanya's kids? I mean, who are they, and how did Tanya find them?
Yes, that was the new mommy and daddy and a big brother. They agreed to be photographed, but they asked us not to use their names to protect their privacy, and we certainly understood that. They were found through the newspaper. They read the story and made the inquiry. Now they are the legal parents of Destiny and Chastity.
Are the kids living with them at this point?
Are living with them. The girls, by the way, Stone, are not HIV positive. I talked to Tanya last night, and she sounded very good, better, possibly, in fact. And it only hit me what she'd really done at that time when she told me that the girls no longer sleep in the other bedroom. Mm-hmm. They're gone. Consider what she has given up for their new lives. No regrets, though. She knows she did the right thing.
You know, with all of these tens of thousands of AIDS orphans, you would think that somebody would set up some kind of a national adoption exchange or clearinghouse to help find homes for these kids.
Well, the authorities are doing programs where a woman or father might participate in getting to know a foster family before they die. But Tanya's hoping that her example might inspire some foundational organization to be a clearinghouse for private adoption.
Well, let's hope so. Thanks, Jane. Well, next, we'll give you a glimpse of an Alaskan village few have ever seen. We went there and found a drama unfolding. A father torn between 2 loves, his son and an ancient tradition. There's more. It all centers around the slaughter of these magnificent mammals. I'll have a report. War over the walrus.
Charmin's not squeezably soft.
Maybe the fluffer broke down.
Oh, no. We fluffed every sheet of Charmin for a deep-down squeezable softness.
So if it's not squeezable...
It's not Charmin.
Hey, what's this?
That's it. You fixed the fluffer. It's squeezable again.
So's this cheap, new potpourri scented Charmin. The scent's put on the core, not the paper.
Makes sense to me.
Charmin's so pleasable.
Because it's so squeezable.
With this ripe tomato, I'm going to show you how the Aquafresh Flex Brush helps take care of your gums and your teeth. It has a flexible neck, so no matter how you brush, you can see it's gentle on your gums. Aquafresh Flex for gentle dental care.
Whenever you pick up a little something,
Why not charge it on the Discover card and earn a cashback bonus? After all, money doesn't grow on trees. Oh. Or does it? It pays to Discover.
Coming up on Dateline, a magnificent creature slaughtered for ivory tusks. An ancient culture threatened by modern times. Two dramas intersect, and a father and son are torn apart. War over the walrus when Dateline continues. Wednesday, this man's mother took a secret to her grave.
I am looking for a twin brother.
Help him search for his lost twin. An all-new unsolved mystery. Then, where's Kramer's arm been?
Smell my arm.
You gotta smell it.
It's invigorating. So shock therapy.
To believe it.
Stop smelling your arm.
Seinfeld after Unsolved Mysteries, NBC Wednesday.
Welcome back to This Day Forever. It's the highlight of the fair.
I like Jim and Lori because they're kind of like the weather. It's a couple of cool kids.
You got a bigger one now. Oh, I love Jim and Lori. They got that sweet personality.
Thanks for joining us here on Live at 5.
For another successful year from
United States Fair.
Now this 7-piece gift is yours free with any Estee Lauder purchase of $15 or more. Yours through September 12th at Yonkers.
You know, I've given a lifetime to building, both my business and this city, and it makes me proud to see how our skyline has grown. So the suggestion that American Republic is opposed to a new principal building is not only untrue, it's absurd. However, I do oppose using public funds for private interests and the closing of Keogh Way. It's wrong and unfair to the taxpayers of Des Moines. As a taxpayer, I urge you to call your councilman and tell him to vote no to Keogh's giveaway.
The cleanup continues in South Florida. Details at 10.
You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Remember that line from the old Joni Mitchell song in the 1970s about modern times destroying old communities? Well, tonight we take you to an American village that's one of the last places on Earth to undergo future shock. It's a place where an ancient culture faces extinction. A magnificent animal is threatened, and a father and son are paying the price, each in his own way. Alaska's St. Lawrence Island. It rises from the sea just below the Arctic Circle. Just this side of the international date line that separates one day from the next. The Eskimos call this distant, barren outpost the edge of tomorrow. The Eskimos have a name for the ocean here, too. They call it their garden. And this is what they harvest. For thousands of years, the walrus has enabled the Eskimo to survive. The herds have always been abundant because Eskimo hunters like Leonard Pangaluk have always been careful not to overhunt the animal.
The old harpoon head was made out of walrus ivory.
It's something Pangaluk learned from his father when he started hunting at age 7 and passed on to his own son, Leonard Jr., who was just 7 years old himself when these home movies were taken in 1967.
Ever since the beginning, I was taught not to waste the animals, because if we wasted or mistreated the animals, it was a belief that much harm would come to us.
Though he is not superstitious, Pangaluk says for the first time in his life, he's afraid that his people may have brought a curse upon themselves. Their hunt this year has been disastrous. Seldom have the racks for drying walrus meat been so empty. The skin boats used to hunt the walrus idle for so long.
This is the first time that we have experienced this in about 20 years.
This is the worst in 20 years?
I believe so, yes.
When Pangaluk sees just how bad the walrus catch has been, he says he can't help thinking about his father's warning that harm would come to those who mistreat the walrus, and about something he saw last winter and can't get out of his mind. It was this videotape shot by a federal undercover agent. It shows a band of Eskimo hunters from a neighboring island, one of them armed with a semi-automatic rifle, slaughtering an entire herd of walrus. Of the 30 or more walrus that were shot, only 10 were ever retrieved. Most just sank in the icy waters. The waste and mistreatment could not have been more dramatically depicted. None of the meat was ever taken. The carcasses were just thrown away. The only thing the hunters took were the valuable ivory tusks.
Well, that's head hunting. My father taught me never to do this.
To this day, every time a Pangaluk sees this videotape, he feels a sense of revulsion.
And legally, traditionally, as far as I'm concerned, that's not right. I'm ashamed of that, wherever that is.
The walrus is not an endangered species, but it is protected. Only Alaska natives are allowed to hunt it. A federal law that's been in effect for the past 20 years says they can take all the walrus they need as long as they use all of what they take. Leonard Apangaluk says that's been a rule among his people for as long as anyone can remember, an unwritten law of the Eskimo that's been in effect for thousands of years. Federal law also says that Alaska natives are the only people allowed to trade in walrus ivory, as long as it is carved by an Eskimo artist before it is sold. And this is where the war over the walrus really begins, because not all of those who hunt the walrus have the skill or the patience of a native craftsman like this man to transform ivory into art. And for those hunters, there's fast money to be made by selling the raw tusks on the black market, even though it's a felony. In a world of 60% unemployment, where prices for gasoline, food, and other necessities are twice what the rest of America pays, Apangaluk understands the temptation to sell raw ivory. He sees young people in his village exposed to a consumer culture they can't afford, lured by the prospect of quick cash.
It's a very sad situation to see our people suffer this way, where they don't have any employment. Of course, they can harvest the walrus. That's what sustains them.
But the illegal ivory trade is a perverse new call of the wild Apangaluk says his people must avoid at all costs. His fear is that the Bering Sea walrus could go the way of the African elephant, headhunted to near extinction by the very people who depend on it for their survival. The temptation is to take raw ivory and make cash, make money.
Apparently so. The thing that really bugs me about that, I heard that there was drugs involved in the trade of raw ivory too.
Apangaluk first heard about an ivory for drugs connection in 1989 and was so disturbed about it, he did something highly unusual for an Eskimo leader. He went outside his own community for help. But when he called federal agents at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to investigate, he had no idea just how widespread the problem was, or the price he would wind up paying personally in his fight to save his community, its beliefs, and the Eskimo way of life. The federal investigation, codenamed Operation Whiteout, began when these agents set up an undercover sting operation in Anchorage. With surveillance tapes rolling in a back room, agents in this shop posed as ivory dealers. They put out the word that anyone wanting to sell raw ivory should come do business with them.
Our camera was hidden right up in the map.
They got a steady stream of customers, like this man. He handed 2 ivory tusks, worth about $350, to Agent George Morrison, who's sitting in the chair. That's a polar bear hide in the foreground, which the man also wanted to sell. Again, strictly illegal.
How much did you want for the bears? How much do you think?
Like so many others who were snared in the sting operation, what the seller wanted was payment not in money, but in drugs. A 1-pound bag of marijuana. Marijuana he eventually hoped to sell on the island where Leonard Apangaluk lives.
When I was a teenager, we heard about marijuana in the ghettos of New York. you know. And I didn't think today it would be in our community. Obviously it is.
Let me show you where we keep all the evidence.
Agent Morrison showed us some of the ivory that was traded illegally during the undercover operation. If the seller wanted drugs instead of cash, what might he get for something like this?
10 marijuana joints is probably about what this would go for.
10 joints.
10 joints.
Morrison's also the agent who shot that videotape of the headhunting and says some of these tusks came from the hunters on that tape.
If the killing of the walrus is left unchecked and just the wholesale slaughter allowed without any regulation at all, sooner or later it's inevitable. Like so many other species, it's going to disappear.
Last February, after more than 2 years of undercover work, Operation Whiteout moved into its final stage.
The whole project will roll this morning.
Federal agents loaded their weapons, packed up their cold weather gear, and in the frigid pre-dawn hours, boarded C-130 military transports.
Police with a search warrant!
Everywhere they went that day, search warrants were served to dealers who'd been trading drugs for ivory. Agents also hit tourist shops said to have been buying raw ivory illegally. By day's end, 27 people were arrested, 5 of them from a Pangalooks village. Was Operation Whiteout necessary?
Yes, I believe so. Even at the cost of giving our community bad publicity, adverse publicity. I'm sure if we had to do it again, we would do it again.
By every measure, the operation had been a success. Leonard Pangaluk had helped bring down the illegal ivory trade. But it didn't end there. Satisfaction would soon turn to heartbreak. Pangaluk would learn that one of those arrested in Operation Whiteout, the man seen here selling raw ivory to an undercover agent, was his own son, Leonard Jr. The boy in the home movies, now grown up, would plead guilty and go to jail. How disappointed were you in your son?
Very disappointed. Very disappointed. It hurts as a father, you know, to see your child get into that kind of a mess.
It's ironic that you were one of those who voiced concern and asked the federal authorities to do something about what was going on and wind up having one of your own sons arrested.
I suspected that he was involved even before the arrests were made. Leonard Jr. just made that mistake. And he's going to have to pay the price for it.
How do you feel toward him now?
The love is always there. The love is always there. And to think that he was such a good boy when he was growing up, when he was young, and he got caught up in the world of this different society.
Your father is one of those who called for this investigation, who told the federal authorities that something needed to be done about the illegal ivory trade. His own son winds up being arrested. How do you think that makes him feel?
Not good, that's for sure.
Your father says you have disappointed him. What does it mean to you to hear that?
I'm sorry about what happened, and I just hope I haven't caused too much damage.
But the damage has been done for Eskimo hunters like Leonard Sr., who depend on the walrus catch for their livelihood and survival. The publicity generated by Operation Whiteout has led to calls for a complete ban on walrus hunting, a ban he says would be disastrous to the Eskimos and their way of life. Take away your right to hunt the walrus, and what happens?
They cannot stop us. We will not survive.
Survival has never been easy here. Even if the walrus hunt continues, Pangaluk and the others in his community are facing a long winter with a meager harvest, left to ponder the possibility that the waste and mistreatment of the walrus has cursed them, left to pray that times will somehow get better, left to hope that the Eskimo culture and the walrus will both be saved. Do you hope that your grandsons hunt the walrus?
I sure hope they will. I'd like to retain part of the culture for our grandchildren. We don't want to disappear with the rest of the world. That should be preserved. It's important.
Stone, isn't it true then that the Eskimo culture is more endangered than the walrus is? The walrus is not endangered.
In fact, that's true. It's a protected species, not an endangered species. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service tells us that the herds are actually in pretty good shape right now, and that there is no reason to take away the Eskimos' right to hunt the animal. Stop the headhunting, punish those who do it, but there's no need to take away the Eskimos' right to hunt.
Can I ask why on earth the headhunters allowed that atrocity they committed to be videotaped?
That's a good question. The only thing they told George Morrison, the agent who shot it, was just give us a copy of the tape. That's all they wanted. Otherwise, they let him shoot it. I guess it's a testament to how good an undercover agent he is. By the way, 5 of those headhunters have been tried and convicted. They await sentencing and face up to 5 years in prison. Leonard Apangala Jr., Jane, has been sentenced to a year in jail, so he's now serving that.
Thank you, Stone. And next, we'll go back to John Scott in Florida for a late report on the relief efforts for the hurricane survivors. Don't go away.
Good morning, birthday girl.
Don't remind me. I hope no one finds out.
It's our secret.
Introducing Pond's Foaming Cleanser and Toner in one. It deep cleans and helps tighten pores to bring out your natural radiance.
And this birthday wish goes out to Deborah Palmer from a secret admirer.
You are so beautiful to me.
Pond's. It brings out your natural radiance.
It was unreal. You woke up with morning breath. You were meeting Miss Wonderful for breakfast, and instead of minty fresh scope... Where's my scope? There was something from the medicine-y mouthwash. It looked blue, but it still smells somewhat medicine-y. I need my scope. It's okay. Relax. It was all a dream. You do have scope. It's minty through and through and kills 90% of morning breath bacteria. So you use minty fresh scope, and you kiss morning breath goodbye.
I hate to clean. That's why I love this new Fantastic. Did you see it? It cuts through grease without leaving the film. So when I have company coming, I have time to do the really important things, like wipe the lipstick off the milk container. No grease, no film, new Fantastic.
Hi, it's code for 148 on St. Andrews, power grid not safe. 81, come here. 814, come here. You 2
Of all the things around your house that need batteries, there's one thing that needs a good, fresh battery most of all. See your Allstate agent for a free home fire safety brochure. And please, check the battery in your smoke detector often.
What is Vibrance? Vibrance is new shampoos and new conditioners that infuse each strand with healthier shine, livelier color, and a fullness you've always wanted. When your hair's this full of life, it's new Vibrance.
I drink V8 because...
Hey, I think it's good for me. It makes me peppy.
You got your vitamin A, your vitamin C. I like it because it has those beta-carotenes in it.
What's that word?
Beta-carotenes.
Pardon? Beta what?
You know, beta-carotene.
Muy sabroso.
Call me crazy, but I think it's delicious.
35 calories.
Really?
35? Yes. It's a kick. I love you.
V8?
V8!
Keeps me thin.
It's zippy kind of thing, a zippy thing.
Tomorrow morning on Today, we'll explore the mind of a female axe murderer.
Also relief efforts in South Florida and actress Lily Tomlin.
That's tomorrow morning on Today.
Earlier in the hour, John Scott reported to us on some of the conditions in southern Florida, neighborhoods where organized relief has yet to take shape. Right now, John is standing by in Homestead, Florida, right in the middle of the worst devastation. John, earlier this evening, you watched the president's remarks with a group of people down there in Homestead. What was their reaction?
Stone, I saw the speech with about 35 Homestead residents who pulled a generator and a television set out onto a pile of rubble that used to be a townhouse here. They sat down and watched everything, and I would have to characterize their reaction as gratified. They're pleased with the presidential attention, I think overall they felt he was a little short on specifics. I think they were hoping to hear some more specific things that he could deliver to this area. But they are pleased that the president acknowledges their plight. They are especially glad that he came down here this morning.
John, the White House is obviously hoping to put behind it criticism that the president has been slow to react. Are these delays, both federal and local, something that people down there are going to quickly forgive and forget?
I think no one is blaming President Bush specifically for the delay. There's been a lot of discussion in the media down here as to whether there was a foul-up at county government or state government level. But I think people want the president to do the impossible, to wave some kind of magic wand and fix everything here tomorrow. There is so much devastation here. So many things are in ruins. It's going to take a long, long time, and people can't yet acknowledge that.
John, in your report earlier in the show, we saw residents carrying weapons to try and protect their property, their neighborhoods. Has anyone actually had to use their weapons?
In fact, it's sad to say, Stone, but in the very neighborhood where we were the other night, there have been 2 looters shot within the past 4 or 5 days. One of them just a couple of blocks from Jim Guyton's house, the man whom we profiled in that report.
And the police response to this?
Essentially, according to Jim, we spoke to him this evening. Jim says the police have said, do what you have to do. Police are acknowledging they can't be everywhere in this kind of crisis.
A rather ominous piece of advice. We only have a few seconds, John, but briefly, are the relief efforts beginning to make a dent down there?
It's clear there is a lot of material here. They are going to be able to help a lot of people, but at this point there are a lot of people who still have not seen help.
Okay, John Scott reporting from Homestead, Florida. Jane?
And we'll be back in a moment.
So you just got a cash advance, did you? Too bad you used an ordinary credit card. Because you could be carrying some very heavy interest charges. Why not carry the Discover card? Just pay your full monthly balance and a small transaction fee, and we'll forget the interest. Which means our money comes with no strings attached. It pays to Discover.
Ragu Chef Granelli just made the chunkiest Ragu sauce taste even better. New Ragu Chunky Garden Style. 3 times chunkier than Prego spaghetti sauce.
Oh, yeah!
3 times chunkier than Prego. Ragu Chunky Garden Style. Extraordinary sauce.
What's bright red, feather light, and comes with an extra long cord? Guess again, it's the Dirt Devil Hand Vac. That powerful revolving brush cleans it all, from pet hair and dirt to stairs, cars, and little messes. So get the Dirt Devil Hand Vac and lighten up.
Meet Rhea.
Mom, I'm quitting the paper and joining the FBI.
When taking control of her life proves harder than she ever imagined,
This is about me, Mom, what I want.
she will realize one thing. She is not alone. Rhea, the time of her life has begun. The Roundtable premieres Friday, September 18th on NBC.
Hey, it's Jay with the Jokes du Jour and Rutger Hauer, followed by Dave with Robert Woe and the Neville Brothers, all tonight.
Tomorrow, living in America, it isn't as easy as it used to be.
The jobs aren't out there right now.
How can you survive? Find out on NBC Nightly News.
Next week on Dateline, one of the most talked about women of the year, Hillary Clinton. For the first time in modern memory, the wife of a presidential candidate has been made an issue in the campaign. Has it hurt or has it backfired? I'll be visiting Hillary Clinton this weekend at home in Arkansas.
Jane will be looking forward to that interview. She has really found herself the prime target of the entire Republican campaign apparatus, and it'll be interesting to see how she's holding up in the crosshairs.
She certainly has high name recognition now, but the Clinton campaign was surprised way into the spring. Many Americans did not know they were parents, and in fact, we didn't see their daughter Chelsea at all until the Democratic convention. So I'll be interested to see the at-home side of Hillary Clinton, who, as you point out, is a household name now.
Well, that's next week on Dateline, Jane's interview with Hillary Clinton.
For this week, though, that's all. Don't forget Bryant Gumbel and Katie Couric tomorrow on Today.
And I'll be sitting in for Tom Brokaw tomorrow on NBC Nightly News. I hope you'll join me. Thanks for joining us. I'm Stone Phillips.
And I'm Jane Pauley. For everyone at NBC News, good night.
For a transcript of this program, please send a $5 check or money order to NBC News Transcripts, Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039.
The Miss America pageant, September 19th on NBC.
Next up from your 24-hour news source.
Friends of Tammy Zwicky expressing hope tonight that a body found in southwestern Missouri is not that of the missing college co-ed. I'm Jim Strickland. Details are next.
In a primetime TV address, President Bush urging all Americans to send relief aid to victims of Hurricane Andrew.
It looks real, it acts real, and it could get deer poachers in real trouble. That story ahead.
Hundreds turn out in Altoona to welcome Jamie Solinger home, the young girl recently crowned Miss Teen USA.
Those stories plus Gary's forecast, Rick with sports, all coming up next.
Is it on? Today, Wendy's is happy to announce a great low price on a new old-fashioned single combo. It's a quarter pound of fresh beef, hot off the grill, made just the way you want it. Plus, baby fries that are really big, and you get your favorite 20-ounce drink. Now that's what I call a real meal. What's more, you save a bundle.
Try Wendy's old-fashioned single combo, just $2.99 for a limited time.
Was it something I said?
Ladies and gentlemen, summer has officially arrived. For 50 years, great summers have started with rich, creamy Meadow Gold ice cream, the official sponsor of summer.
How much is a ding, a dent, or a scratch worth to you? Plenty during Big Sur Waterbeds warehouse clearance. Right now, you'll save big on slightly damaged waterbeds, accessories, and matching bedroom furniture. Plus, save a minimum of 6% on brand new merchandise store-wide. That's 6% below our guaranteed lowest prices. Save on one-of-a-kind and discontinued items, too. So get here early and beat the crowd. Big Sur Waterbeds, 3715 Merle Hay Road at Douglas in Des Moines.
Live from WHO TV 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day. John Bachman, Kim Kerrigan, Rick Silvestrini with sports, and meteorologist Gary Amble with the weather. This is News Center 13 at 10.
The scene in southern Missouri where the body of a young woman has been discovered. The question now, could it be that of Tammy Zwicky? Good evening. Many of the pieces fit all too well.
Authorities have been struck by the similarities between the case of missing Grinnell College student Tammy Zwicky and the body of a young woman found this morning. Authorities say the victim's age, height, and build match that of Tammy Zwicky. The hair and eye color are a question mark. The body has been transported to Columbia, Missouri for an autopsy tomorrow.
Our team coverage on this begins with News Center 13's Jim Strickland.
And Jim, you've been on the phone with authorities this evening. What kind of new information do you have for us?
Well, Kim and John, as you mentioned, a new wrinkle has cropped up tonight regarding the eye color of the victim. And now the FBI says Tammy Zwicky is not the only young woman missing in that part of Missouri. By the way, there's a warning now to our viewers. The scenes that you're about to see depict a violent and bloody death. Investigators poured over the scene this afternoon. The body of a young woman found in this ditch off Interstate 44 in Lawrence County, Missouri. Authorities say it had been wrapped in a sheet and a blanket. The loss of blood from several stab wounds was evident as investigators combed the scene. Authorities may know in the morning whether the victim is Tammy Zwicky, but they say you can't assume anything. After all, 3 other women are missing from southwestern Missouri according to the FBI. Tammy is blonde with green eyes. The body reportedly has brown eyes and light auburn hair. The Zwicky disappearance, however, would match the time frame investigators place on the death of the victim. Zwicky has been missing since her car was found abandoned along I-80 near LaSalle, Illinois on August 23rd. Authorities say the body had been in the ditch there in southwestern Missouri for about 3 days, so the time elements would indeed fit.
All right, thank you, Jim. News of today's discovery is especially hard on Grinnell College students.
Many people on campus have been involved in a massive search effort this past week. As News Center 13's Mary Mills tells us, while they can't help but fear the worst, they're still optimistic that Tammy will be found alive.
As news of the latest developments spread, yellow ribbons began going up across campus.
We're doing it just to keep the memory alive. It's a remembrance thing.
Students were stunned to hear that a body roughly fitting Tammy's description had been found in southern Missouri.
I don't know what to say. It's really upsetting. I mean, I really hope it's not her.
I didn't expect something so drastic or so soon before any other kind of news.
Students say it's tough. For the past week, they've been awaiting any word of Tammy's whereabouts. Tonight's news wasn't what they were wanting to hear. But with no confirmation, no ID, many here, including Tammy's best friend, refused to give up hope.
And I know that myself and the rest of this campus is going to keep working until we hear that we hear from the family that we can or should stop working.
The young woman found was wearing shorts with the letters GCRC. Some speculate it stood for Grinnell College Rugby Club. A rugby player, though, says no.
It does not. We've been trying to think of anything we can think of GRRC, and we can't think of anything.
Students say until there's final word, there's still hope. In Grinnell, Mary Mills, News Center 13.
Tammy's brother, also responding to the news of a body being found, Todd Zawicki, says, quote, "We hope that Tammy was not the victim of this brutal crime." He's asking that everyone wait until a positive ID is made before drawing any conclusions. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, and we'll pass along, of course, those results as soon as they become available.
Cleanup is underway at the idle Midwestern power plant in Pleasant Hill, contaminated with dangerous PCBs. Specialists dressed in protective clothing started the effort today at the front gates of the facility. Midwestern Power officials say the contractors working at the plant spilled more than 600 gallons of oil containing PCBs. The power company has to pick up the $3 million cleanup bill. Authorities say they've filed suit against the contractors. It's expected to take months. A former Iowa man charged with killing a federal marshal in Idaho made his first court appearance today. Randy Weaver is a graduate of Jefferson High School. He surrendered to authorities.